Hey, this is GratuiTous. Welcome to Music Production Made Simple, the show that focuses on best practices about music production, which is based on FL Studio. If you're wanting to become the best producer you could be, subscribe and listen weekly. You can also check out my courses, which teach you the principles and basics of music production. They'll get you up and running quickly. In addition, I also have books on Amazon and tons of music on Spotify. Always feel free to hit me up at hi@itsgratuitous.com. So let's get into the episode. Okay, hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to episode number 10. In this episode, we're going to be talking about things that you should be thinking about before actually releasing your music. Now, I'm not just so much talking about releasing music just in general. I'm talking about actually before you really start promoting your brand and really trying to get yourself out there, okay? Things you should be thinking about because really, now it's like you're taking it more professionally, you're taking this more seriously, and it's really important that you treat it as such, okay? Before we get into the episode, I just want to share that I have actually now finished the FL Studio 20 intermediate course that I was talking about in the last episode. This is going to teach you how to create commercial ready music, allow you to compete with your favorite producers out there. It covers mixing, arrangement, and mastering with the new LUFS loudness normalization standards. That's going to really teach you how to get up and running and create really professional, high quality music, okay? I will leave that link in the actual resources page on this episode, okay? This is episode number 10. Okay, so let's get into the episode, okay? So when you're first starting up, it's really important that you be careful that your non-professional mindset doesn't affect your actual future brand. Because when you're first starting up, you're new to this. You're not business oriented. You really don't think this way, okay? And you might be making silly decisions. Like, for example, when you're first starting up, you may have some great ideas, and I say that with the fingers, with quotes, right? But these ideas really aren't that great. These are the things that you share or post on social media. Like, for example, you might be like, oh, I started producing music, check it out, right? And the thing is, first impressions count. And when people see this, and if they checked out your first beat that you've ever made, and they think it's, they're like, oh, just another person just trying to make it in the music industry, right? This is even to do with if you have conversations with close friends or family members and stuff like that. When you're first starting up, it's really, really important to kind of hold it close to your heart and just keep practicing, okay? And then eventually let your skills do the talking once you become more established and you have a better understanding of how music production works. But really, in my experience, currently I've been doing this for about 10, 11 years now. And, when you're first starting up, you want to share it with friends or you want to share it to people. You want to say, oh, yeah, check this out. You might burn it, back in the day anyways, you might burn it to a CD and hand it out to somebody. But you want to make sure that you understand that your music is high quality, that if you do compare it to other people out there, that you are at least at that same standard of audio quality. I'm not saying the same style of music. I'm saying that when someone listens to, let's say, their favorite artist, and then they listen to you, does it translate? Has it been mastered similar, in a sense of, loudness and the quality? That's more what I'm saying, okay? You want to make sure that you are presentable before you start really getting it out there and stuff, okay? So the next point I want to talk about is, so your first impressions count. So this is why it's important to build your skills up front first and then share when you know that you're ready. This will, give you confidence. It's just going to really make your first impression count. When you're first starting up, you're kind of unaware of how these decisions can affect your future because, again, first impressions count, and you may think that you have these great ideas, which aren't so great until you start understanding the business side of things. The next thing I want to talk about is, do you really feel that you have what it takes? Okay, so when you're first getting started up, you must know you have what it takes and you're willing to fight the ups and downs of this music industry. You're going to constantly have these huge ups and downs. For example, you might send out an email, some things might be working out really good, and then it might be months where nothing happens. There are going to be the ups and downs, but you have to be willing to fight it. You have to be willing to push through. Really, you are now an entrepreneur. If you're trying to pursue this more as a career, if you are wanting to try and sell beats, if you're wanting to try and get your music on the radio. Now, this is kind of a touchy subject because, one person may think they have what it takes when maybe they don't. Because here's kind of a funny example. It's kind of like singing, right? Some people think they have a good voice, when they don't. And, a good comparison is looking at American Idol tryouts, for example, right? Watching all the people come on and, they're being rejected. And The sad thing is, it's like that's the reality of life, right? So a good way to see if you think you have what it takes is to truly look at your music and compare it to other people in the industry, okay? Now, I'm not saying to copy, but I'm talking like just like the quality wise, like, you know, the way how they use their synths, the way how they have mixed it, the way how they've mastered it. Is the quality of your music up to that same par, okay? And that would be a little bit of an indicator that, you know, are you close? And if you're close, like, you know, it's just practice then maybe for you. But again, some people have what it takes and some people don't. So truly inside, you have to really know, it's like, are you willing to, you know, to do what it takes to fight the ups and downs? And then also, do you also have like the natural ability to make music? Like, are you creative? Are you able to make, you know, music? And again, it is a touchy subject, but at the end of the day, only some people really are going to make it in the music industry and others aren't, okay? So you have to kind of figure out, is it worth your time to pursue this? Like, you know, you can always be doing this as a hobby, and that's totally fine. I'm more talking about if you're wanting to pursue this as a business, start making money, and, you know, enjoy this as a career, okay? So I want to get into talking about like building your brand just a little bit. So before you actually get your name out there, it's really important that you do create a logo beforehand and don't cheap out and also don't rush it, okay? You know, in my beginnings, I've gone through quite a few different logos for GratuiTous. In the beginnings, I rushed it. You know, like my logo was not super, professional. Over the years, it got a little bit better. And then finally, now I have like a GratuiTous with like a little speaker. Not to say that it's going to stay like that forever, but it's just really important that you do have a high quality logo because again, it's with business, with branding. When people look at your logo, it does reflect on your brand, okay? I'll just tell you like a little bit of a story that I experienced when I was starting up. Because when you're first starting up, like you don't have tons of money to spend with branding. And, you know, again, it also goes down to that point of you're not really business mindset in the very, very beginnings. That's why you have to be careful and prepare ahead of time. You got to think into the future a lot. So the story I want to say is because, so for my very, very first release, it was my album. The album was called We've Only Just Met. It's like on iTunes and Spotify if you want to check it out. And for my actual artwork, I was going to use paint. Like I'm talking like from like Windows XP to like early Windows 7. It was paint, Windows Paint. And it's just like now even in Windows 10, like you are able to do a little bit more with paint. But for anyone who knows anything about graphic design, like you never use paint for like anything. Like even nowadays, I might use paint to like maybe like resize an image quickly. And like that's pretty much it. Okay. But I was going to create my actual artwork in paint and it looked so like unprofessional, right? And I sent it to somebody and they were just like, whoa, like here, let me just, you know, kind of update that a little bit for you. And all they did was they just chose like a better font. And they also just kind of put like a little gradient background to kind of offset like the black a little bit. And that's it. And you know, it made it look just like way better. But again, it just comes down to like that patience. And really, it's like to spend like $100 on like some artwork or something in compared to just doing it yourself and it looks cheap. The thing is like, it's going to be out there forever. And who knows like where your music career is going to go. So, you know, it's just important to take your time with your logo and make it look good, okay? Because it is your brand, okay? You have to be thinking that way. This is your business now. One other thing I'll kind of mention, I'm not going to get too much into, is you always want to have a way for people to connect with you. Like, yes, there's social media and stuff like that, but the dangers of social media is that you actually don't have control of your followers, okay? So this is where like an email marketing list is really, really important to have. For example, if you have your website, you want a way for people to opt in to sign up with their email. Many times I also ask for the person's first name. That way in my emails, I can reference them by first name. A lot of times these email providers allow you to use just like a little piece of code and it will always pull in that person's first name. So no matter who you're sending the email to, it just pulls in their first name. It's a nice little personalized approach, okay? Now with emails, this allows you to connect and contact them at any time, and it's directly into their inbox. So it doesn't matter if Facebook goes away or Twitter goes away or any of these social platforms, you have control of their email until they opt out, so until they unsubscribe. But if they like your content, if they like you for who you are, anytime you send out an email, it's just a really nice personal one-on-one connection. So it's really important to capture these people's emails so you can stay in contact with them. Okay, so next thing I want to talk about is your actions now matter. Okay, so now let's say that you have prepared yourself, you've created your logo, you feel that your music is up to like more of a commercial standard, that if someone listens to your music, they feel that, you know, there's huge room for improvement for you. They also like your music, they like your brand, they like where you're going, okay? Now you have to be thinking about, really, you can be now like a role model and you're a professional and you have to treat it as such. So what I mean by that is your words and actions now matter, okay? It's really, really important. Like if you're ever interviewed, or the things you say on social media, the things you share, it's very, very important that you always think about, you know, these actions of yours, okay? This goes down to like the things you believe, the things you portray, and the things that you say. And probably the most important part of this is what you're actually saying in your songs, okay? Is it true to who you are? Would you be happy with the message that you're putting out there like 10 years from now? Because right now it might be fun. You might be making money from what you're saying and what you're doing because that just might be the trends. But again, you know, let's say you start growing up. Let's say you have a family. Let's say you have children. Now all of a sudden you look back to this music. Is this the image that you want to portray to the world? Is it also the image you want to portray to your family, to your children, and stuff like that? So you do have to think ahead this way, okay? It's really important for your brand and also for yourself, because, you know, later on in life, because, you know, let's say you have built your brand on a certain image, people know you for a certain way, and let's say 10, 15 years later, all of a sudden you're kind of looking back and you are reflecting and you're like, do you know what, this is not the way I want to go anymore. It's like, I kind of wish I could change it. This can kind of hinder you later on. It can make, you know, your music maybe not as fun. But if you think this way, you're always just kind of at least thinking about your actions a little bit more. Like obviously you can never predict the future or like know what you want even in the future. But as long as you can kind of think about it a little bit, it's just going to make that process a little bit easier. It's also going to prevent you from making really bad decisions, okay? The last thing I want to talk about, being a music producer is honestly extremely rewarding. So for example, like when you create your music, it is like a special privilege to be able to hear the music that you've created. There's just something special. Like, you know, if you're a producer, as soon as you play your own music, your own beat, you know, enjoying your own music, you know, it kind of sounds like full of yourself, right? But really, it's like not everyone can create music like you create music. So it's just a really cool thing to have being a music producer. Another really powerful thing about music is that it affects many people in like the good and bad times of their life. For example, so, you know, with music, many times artists, they create songs that are going to be for a certain like event or something. For example, like, you know, every single year there typically comes out a song that's going to be for like a wedding, and like, you know, at the wedding, that's like the one like where like the husband and wife or whatever, like they're going to do like the slow dance, right? Or there's that one song of the father and the daughter dance. It's like, these are kind of like the markets, and really like those are like the big markets, like when it comes to like weddings and stuff like that, like those certain songs that are like the hits. So that's kind of something to think about, right? It's like, that's more like the business. It's more of like the niche within the music business, you know, when you create these songs. So anyways, that's just kind of this podcast, this episode. That's kind of what I wanted to talk about. Just before you release your music, these are some kind of things you want to think about. Just be careful in the very, very beginnings, because you can be making some really unwise decisions, because again, you're not business mindseted yet. You have to be careful what you're posting on social media, especially in your early days of like, you know, oh, you know, I just started making beats. Check out my new beat. Check out this, right? When people keep seeing these posts and stuff, at first they're like, oh, that's cool. And then let's say 3 months, 4 months down the road, if you keep posting this kind of stuff, yes, you're going to have some true followers or whatever, and that's cool. But imagine that if you came right off the start with like high quality, your brand, your image, and everyone would be like, wow, like this guy really, you know, he hit it right. And then one thing that, again, that I have found within this music industry is it's just really important to keep a lot of this stuff close to your heart, and really don't share stuff until, one, that you know for sure that things are going to be done. For example, like, you know, don't be talking, oh, I'm going to release an album, or I'm going to release a beat tape, but really you haven't even started. You don't even know like the actual title of it, right?
if you want to mention that kind of stuff, make sure that like, you know, if you're going to create that beat tape, make sure that all the beats are done. Make sure that like maybe you're 70, 80% done, mixed it. And if you were to mention it to somebody, it's like, you know that you're going to be releasing this within like a month or something, right? And the reason why I say like, you know, holding it close to your heart is just because, especially the people within like your close group, I'm talking like your close friends or like family members, these are the people that can actually hinder you the most. They can say things that can dampen you, you know, they can really uninspire you or make you feel like intimidated and stuff. So it's really important that you share when you know that you're ready. And even if anything, like sometimes you don't even have to share with these types of people, right? As you continue to grow, like you build your business, your brand, you don't have to share everything with like, you know, your close people. When I was talking about have a way for people like to connect with you, right? This newsletter, it's like, see, the difference is these are the people that want to connect with you. They're the people that have signed up. They want to hear from you. Obviously, you have to be careful in how you talk to them. You don't want to be spammy, but that's the difference, right? So again, check out the FL Studio Intermediate course. I've gone super, super in depth. It's going to teach you guys best practices in a sense of how to get commercial ready, high quality professional music from your mixing to your arrangement to your actual mastering with the new loudness standards, LUFS, all that kind of stuff. Okay. Again, come to this actual episode page. This is number 10, and check out the resource links. Okay.
Thanks for checking out the episode. If you had any questions, visit itsgratuitous.com/podcast, select an episode, and submit your question at the bottom of the page to the contact form. If you'd like to take my FL Studio courses, see my current studio and podcasting gear, read my books, or are interested in lessons, visit the link itsgratuitous.com/learning. That page will redirect you to more info and resources. I hope the best with your productions. I'm Gratuitous, and I'll see you in the next episode.